Well, hello, church family. It's Saturday afternoon again, and that must mean that it is time for announcements and prayers. We actually have a lot to get to today, so let's jump right in. And let's start off with some good news. Our lawn mowing collection is done. We have enough to cover the summer. I want to thank each and every one of you who gave money for this effort. I appreciate it very much, and you will not hear from me about lawn mowing this summer again. No guarantees about next summer. Then I want to talk about some session notes, and we met on Monday. We had a very good and very productive meeting. And of course, one of the things at the top of our agenda was when we might be able to gather again in person. This is it's a difficult thing to do. But I think that we very thoughtfully and very prayerfully considered the possibility of making in-person worship happen again. And while, like you, our session and myself wants nothing more than to resume in-person worship as soon as possible, we still think that it is too early. It is too early, having seen what's going on in the rest of the country, to make that decision quite yet. The two factors that went into this are one, the age of our congregation. We have a lot of elderly people. We also have a fair number of people who have underlying health conditions and who probably wouldn't come back to worship anyway. But if they did, they would be putting themselves at risk, and none of us wants to be responsible for any of our beloved members becoming ill. The second is just seeing what's happening, particularly in the South these days. They reopened and got things going a little bit earlier than we did, probably a couple weeks earlier. So seeing the cases climb in Texas and Florida and Alabama and places like that, we want to be very cautious before joining in worship together in our sanctuary, that does not happen here in Nebraska. So we're still waiting. We are monitoring the situation closely. We are relying on our information and advice from both Dr. Anna and Dr. Carol, who have been very helpful with this in giving advice, both personally and also through the virtual town halls, if you watched any of those, which have just been excellent. Now, with that said, we are pursuing the possibility of having an outdoor fellowship event at some point in July that could bring us back together again outdoors in a safer environment. So stay tuned for further information. The worship committee is actually going to be meeting about this week. We will also, of course, continue in prayer that the number of cases of COVID-19 and, of course, the number of deaths dwindle to nothing, and that a vaccine becomes available at the earliest possible time, so that we can get back to worship as we know it, and hopefully life as we know it. Now, there's always a next thing. So we got rid of the lawn mowing, right? Done. Thank you very much. And I almost feel embarrassed about coming back and asking for something else, but this is kind of a biggie, and there is always a next thing. So one of the other things that we did at our session meeting was we discussed the possibility of installing a camera system in our sanctuary that would allow us to record our services even after we are worshiping in person once again. This would make it possible for those who, for whatever reason, might not be able to attend worship on any given Sunday to see the worship services as they are now. It would probably look a little different than it does now, but that we would still be able to share those worship services with our members who cannot be there, but also with people outside of our church family. We have had quite a few viewers from beyond our church family and would like to continue to reach out for them. Now, we got a quote on a camera system. It involves two different cameras and the equipment to run it and the equipment to record from Yandas, and the cost is $13,692. Chances are there may be a little extra equipment. We've talked about being able to have a laptop up at the sound booth when we install this equipment, so that we could actually watch the output a little closer. But so it might cost around $15,000 in total. We are applying for a grant from the Presbytery, which I am fairly confident that we'll get, for $2,000 to cover $2,000 worth of cost. That still leaves us with about $13,000. Memorial Gifts is going to meet because they may be able to contribute some money. And actually, we have some funds that are loosely controlled by the Christian Education Committee and also the Outreach Committee that we may draw on partially. So we are looking into all avenues of how we might be able to raise money for this. But one of the other things that we thought was, this might be an opportunity, especially for some of the folks who have the means to do this and also have taken advantage of the video services that we have offered and appreciated them, to make sure that that's permanent so that other people can enjoy them even after we start to meet in person again. I know some of you have talked to me about how many views we have gotten on this. Typically, a worship service has been getting right around 100, a little bit over, I'd say, if on average. Some of them, like Easter, were over 150 views. And you have to remember that when we talk about views on these things, we are not necessarily talking about individuals, because some of our families watch the worship services all together. So you might have 4 or 5 people watching on one view. Anyway, so that exists, and it would give us the opportunity to continue that outreach. So if you have the means and you have appreciated these services, we ask, if you can, to contribute to the efforts to make this video equipment a reality. And again, if you have the means and you can send in a contribution, just make sure that you note it's for the camera system so that Barb can apply it to this effort. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for everything that you've given so far. And if you are able to give to this, we thank you for that also. Now, moving on, children's stories. And I'm going to ask, I think, probably just one more time. We've had some wonderful contributions, and we are going to definitely use some of the stories that we have received from you. But I'd like to ask if there's anyone else who has a children's story that's particularly meaningful and you would like to see us preach on that in this summer series. Please get us the name and author at least. And if you actually have a copy of the book, if you can get us a copy of the book, that's even better. And we will preach on it. We're doing Ollie the Elephant tomorrow. We're going to do Rainbow Fish, and we've got several others selected. So we will be doing that. But if you have a beloved children's story and you would love to see a message on that, then please get it to us. Not guaranteeing that we'll use your story, but we'll try. You are also going to get a few extra videos this week. One of the things that Jill and I did this week was we had agreed to help the folks out at Camp Kamika. They are doing a summer video series of their own on the fruits of the Spirit, and Jill and I took one. This is 5 parts. It will go Monday through Friday of next week on a particular fruit of the Spirit. I'm not going to tell you which one because that would spoil some of the fun, but it's Jill and I together out at Camp Kamika doing videos on one of the fruits of the Spirit that you'll find in the 5th chapter of Galatians. So look forward to that as the week goes along. As always, I thank everyone for their gifts and their pledges. I'm almost overwhelmed by the generosity during this time when we can't gather together, and thank everyone for contributing. So P.O. Box 194, Gothenburg, Nebraska. If you are giving, please send your check there to the attention of Barb, and we appreciate everything that you do. So we also have joys and concerns this week, and we have birthday wishes to send out. We got 3 of them this week, I believe. We have Bruce Clymer on the 22nd. Happy birthday to Bruce. We have Jax Rickardson on the 23rd and Maddox Rickardson on the 27th. So happy birthday to Jax and Maddox. We also send out joyful anniversary wishes to Terry and Kathy Healy on the 22nd and Andy and Cassie Hilbers on the 24th. And of course, especially given what tomorrow is, we celebrate the joy of all our wonderful fathers and all of the men in our lives who have guided us. Thank you to all of them, and thank you to all those dads out there. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Now, on our prayer concerns for this week, we continue to lift up Archie and the Rickardson family. We also hold Luke Dalrymple. Luke is doing fantastic. It looks like he's going to be able to avoid doctors for a long period of time. Well, other than his mother, of course. That doctor he's going to spend a lot of time with. But he is doing very well. But let's continue to hold him in our prayers. Alan Dopp is now in a position where in the new facility he can have visitors, so his family is able to visit him, which is a wonderful thing. And we give thanks for the progress that he's making and the fact that they can be with him. This is great. We have ongoing prayer concerns for Jane Herndon, Mark Bartels, who's starting physical therapy, Lauren Andrus, Bev Soller, and Janet Cranow. We got the sad news that Lois Shea has actually been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and that it is actually spread. She is going to be going on chemotherapy. So keep her in our prayers. I would like to also add, if I could, that we keep Jill, Pastor Jill, in our prayers. It has been a rough couple weeks for Jill. She started experiencing lower back pain about 2.5 weeks ago, which was fairly severe, and she's been x-rayed, and then she had an MRI, and the MRI revealed that she has spinal stenosis in her lumbar region, and that she also has a bulging disc, which is impinging on the nerve roots, which puts her in a lot of pain in her lower back, her hip, and even her legs. To add to that, some of the we believe that she had a poor reaction to some of the medication that she was supposed to take, which triggered her vertigo yesterday, which meant that we had to take her to the emergency room yesterday afternoon. She got treated. She got some other medication, which seems to be settling much better. So I am happy to report that she's doing better today. But as they search for ways to help manage the pain that she's in and keep her from being very dizzy, being a weeble wobble, as we like to say, I would appreciate your prayers for Jill. And of course, we keep the whole nation and all our leaders in our prayers as we face the pandemic and as we face unrest and uncertainty in our country. I would ask that we all be reminded that everyone we run into, black, white, yellow, red, police officer, regular citizen, whoever, they are all children of God. They are all worthy of God's love. They are worthy of our love, and they are worthy of our forgiveness, our help, and our hope. Together, if we provide those things and we take a mindset into our life of faith that we are going to be difference makers by showing love and grace in the world, we will make a difference. I wish you every blessing on this Saturday, and we'll see you in worship tomorrow for the story of Ollie the elephant. Take care, my friends, and we'll see you soon.